Hi, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec Podcast, where I'll help you create teams with leading, because life's too short to lead a mediocre team. As always, I'm your host, Aviv Ben-Yosef, Tech Executive Coach and Consultant, and our subject today is empty values. I believe I've discussed in the past the fact that people sometimes end up creating values for their companies that actually mean nothing. I just so happened to come across an example in real life that's not necessarily related to startups, but I saw it and that immediately made me think of you, my listeners, and I thought I'll share the example. We were recently in London, and when you're going touristing, you're going across the city, you end up purchasing, especially with kids, you purchase, snacks, bottles and cans, etc., of things to drink while you're walking around, especially because we just happen to have a very nice heat wave going on, and you find yourself walking for minutes trying to find a bin, trying to find a garbage can where you can throw your garbage, because you don't just want to leave it there in the street. But we had to search often for more than 5 minutes, walking around with those boxes, etc., in our hands till we found a place to throw it. And to contrast that, many of the little green spots that you find in London where, there's a nice bench, there's a tree, it's very nice to sit there. A lot of those, when you sit there, have these like mirrors. They're saying, leaving garbage around reflects badly on us all, something along that. I'm like, okay. And you went through the effort of putting that mirror there, but you do not have a bin next to it. What gives? This is the empty values problem. When we as leaders try to come up with something that sounds like the right thing, yet we do not actually enable that behavior in our culture, in our organization, for our people, which very quickly means that they become aware of the dissonance, understand that what we say doesn't necessarily mean that we mean it, and stop trusting us altogether. We're just creating a dissonance that can really harm how well you create an organization, how well you cultivate your culture. And I've seen these examples all over the place. Like when I come across founders who talk about being open, about trust, etc. But then I noticed that when they have some issues with a person, they actively lie. They are actively being dishonest around that person, often involving others in the organization. They might be thinking, okay, I'm just doing it with that specific VP, with that specific lead that's problematic. But the message that everyone else is getting, everyone you bring into the fold and do this with them, is that they realize, okay, this means that they might also hide things from me. They might be dishonest with me. Maybe they currently are and I'm just not aware of it. And that's how you harm how your team views you, and immediately tell everyone that your values mean nothing. Another example is when you're talking about the sort of team you want, and you say that you value people who do this or that, who are that close to your values, to your attitude, who are more like this as opposed to that, etc. But then when it comes to interviewing, you don't check for it at all. You end up hiring people just because they check the boxes for their technical knowledge. Or even I've seen cases where you actively see that those people might not be the right cultural fit, and you still bring them as opposed to what your values declare, because you're in a bind, you really need that extra pair of hands, whatever you're telling yourself. Or when I see leaders who say that they want an open company where people talk about things, but when people talk about things, they ignore them, or they shoot them down, or they make them feel like they're stupid if they made a suggestion that doesn't make sense. These are all ways for you to show everyone around that your values mean nothing. Now, all this to say that creating a healthy organization is something that we have to be extremely mindful of. It does not happen spontaneously, that we just, as we grow, say we do this, we do that, and boom, things work. Good values are values that we have to proactively make them happen. They are values that actually change how we behave, because otherwise we wouldn't need those, right? I'm assuming you don't have the value of we do things legally here because hopefully no one needs that. We just do things legally. And good values are values that actually mean something. They shape how we do things. They would otherwise, if we weren't to have them, we would probably do things differently. We might do things differently. And good values are those that actually change us, shape us. And when we come up with those things, when we tell our team what's important, we have to make sure that we actively work on it. We enable it. We make it easier for them. We show them how we do it. We role model it. All of those things are very important if you want to end up creating an organization that, as it grows, as things become more complex, as you add on more responsibilities, more product complexity, more people, etc., the team actually keeps getting better as opposed to just slowly drowning, getting slower, which is the norm, unfortunately. And if you do that correctly, you will be able to end up having a team that actually makes you proud. A team that is not yet another mediocre team, but a team that keeps improving. Those are the teams that I love working with, the teams that I help my clients create, and that I think are the only ones that are going to be at the top 20% if you look forward. And nowadays, that creating software companies is becoming much harder, that AI is really changing how things are done. The culture is going to be a major part of it. It's not about how fast you can create the code. It's about knowing what are the right things and very effective communication around everyone involved in creating those products to ensure that we're creating the right things and fast. And that is only possible if you have a really good culture in place. And that never happens by itself. It's always a bunch of leadership work. And this is the first instance of it. Deciding about your values, about what's important, and starting to walk towards that goal. That's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. As always, if you have any questions or comments, let me know in my email in the show notes. If you haven't yet, do check out my newsletter. It's the best newsletter online for tech execs, where every week you're going to get this podcast, an article, a video, and some other free goodies. The link is in the show notes as well, and I'll see you here in the next week. Ciao.